Hello. In this video, we're going to be talking about the endoplasmic reticulum. So let's not waste any of your time. Let's get right to it. Now, when we're talking endoplasmic reticulum, where we're going to start the conversation is mentioning the endomembrane system. The endomembrane system, you may be familiar with this, you may not be, but it's a club, okay, and it's got select members. Not everybody gets to be in this one, but the select members are members of the system of making proteins, or at least processing proteins. All of these, they've got internal membranes throughout the cytoplasm, but the members of this important club, the endomembrane system, are the endoplasmic reticulum, which is why we're mentioning it now, the ribosomes, the Golgi apparatus, the Golgi body, and lysosomes. So, and they're important because through some process, whether it's the ribosomes making it, the endoplasmic reticulum processing them, the Golgi apparatus, Golgi body, packaging them up, getting them ready for transport into the vesicles, or if you're the lysosome, you've got to come in and one's broken down, clean it up, and get that thing out of the way. But that's the endomembrane system, the group of organelles that are making the proteins. All right, continuing with the endoplasmic reticulum, we'll start with the rough ER, RER. It's the kind of brown over there, right off of the egg yellow nucleus, as we mentioned earlier in an earlier video, the nucleus video, that those two are touching, and it gets that rough reference because of the bumpy look that it has in a microscope. And that's from the ribosomes being attached. And so those ribosomes are attached, they're making proteins, and then they enter the rough ER to be kind of processed, finished up, before they make their way to the Golgi body, Golgi apparatus. Continuing with the rough ER, when you think about this structure, you want to think of Zigzag Maze. You can see it over there in the picture beside me. That Zigzag Maze, as it works through, and again, as we mentioned a couple of times already, it's touching the nucleus. So the ribosome makes the protein, passes it into the RER, the rough ER, and then it processes through and heads on over to the Golgi. Something else to mention about the rough ER, it's also where phospholipids are made. We just talked about phospholipids in the plasma membrane, and they are made here. Okay, continuing our talk about endoplasmic reticulum, in this one we'll talk about the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. If you look at that picture, they are to the north. They're on top or above in that picture of the rough ER. They kind of look like organ pipes. Organ pipes is probably a dated reference. When I was young, that was popular in churches to have. And I don't know if that still exists or not. But you know what a pipe organ is? And they kind of look like that. But that's a smooth ER. None or relatively few ribosomes attached. That's why they get that smooth reference, because they don't have that bumpy look in a microscope view. But they're super important. They do a lot of things. There's several things, I should say. For one, they make lipids. Okay, lipids are made here. So if you don't want any lipids, find out a way to get your smooth ER shut down. But it also stores calcium. And you may be thinking, well, what's so important about that? When it comes to the processes of our brain, firing and sending messages and passing that along to neurons, it relies heavily on calcium as a start of that process. So it's super important. It also is part of the detoxification process. Also makes carbohydrates, okay, and hormones, which is part of the carbohydrate process. So it does quite a few things, super important organelle, and depending on the need of the cells or what the cell's particular function is, determines how much of the rough ER it has, how much of the smooth ER. You could have cells that have a bunch of rough, little smooth, half and half, more of one. It just kind of depends on what the function of the cell is. So that's our video on the endoplasmic reticulum. When we come back together, we'll be talking about the lysosomes. We'll see you then.